The 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, a day of drama, history, and emotion here in Washington, as one of America's most glorious traditions is played out before a huge audience here and around the world. The peaceful transfer of power and the promise of a new beginning.
Today, I say to you that the challenges we face are real. They are serious and they are many. They will not be met easily or in a short span of time. But know this, America, they will be met.
This is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams. The inauguration of Barack Obama. Brought to you with limited commercial interruption by Audi.
Good evening from Capitol Hill in Washington. What a day this has been in the nation's capital. What a day it continues to be. The nation has a new president. Barack Obama is the 44th president of the United States, sworn in just after noon today before the largest crowd ever assembled in this city's history. For the young first couple, the night is young. They're scheduled to arrive at the last of 10 inaugural balls at 2:30 in the morning. But first things first, we have it all for you. Depending on your NBC station, many of you will be seeing a special hour-long edition of tonight's broadcast with limited commercial interruption. We begin tonight with our look at this day, history-making, marking a first for all time and a huge political shift for America. The new president's day started as he left Blair House for the short trip to St. John's Episcopal Church for a morning worship service, a tradition started by FDR at the height of the Great Depression. A few blocks to the south, hundreds of thousands of spectators braved the cold, crowding onto the Washington Mall with the swearing-in still hours away. After church, the Obamas paid a visit to what would soon be their new home, the White House. Michelle Obama brought a leather-bound journal inscribed as a gift for Laura Bush. Then it was inside the White House for another tradition, coffee with the incumbent. After a visit of just under an hour, the moment arrived for George Bush to leave the White House for the last time as president. The two men together in the limousine as the motorcade slowly made the 1.5-mile trip to Capitol Hill. Security was tight and plainly evident. On the inaugural platform at the Capitol, dignitaries took their seats as the U.S. Marine Band played. The Obama daughters, Sasha and Malia, Michelle Obama.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, Barack H. Obama.
And then, the man of the hour. From the enormous crowd, a roar of welcome.
Welcome to the inauguration of the 44th President of the United States of America.
Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, the inaugural chair, welcomed the assembled guests and introduced Pastor Rick Warren, who gave the invocation.
Let us pray. Almighty God.
Minutes later, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin.
I come, sweet taste of the sweet land of liberty.
Joe Biden was sworn in as vice president by the senior-most justice of the Supreme Court, John Paul Stevens.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
More music on a history-making day from giants of the music world. And then the moment arrived. Using the same Bible Abraham Lincoln was sworn in on 148 years earlier, and on the steps of a Capitol building built in part by slaves. Barack Obama took the oath, administered by Chief Justice John Roberts. The Chief Justice went without notes and actually got the oath wrong, but between the two men, they made it official.
Barack Hussein Obama,
I,
do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
That I will execute the office of President to the United States faithfully.
That I will execute
faithfully the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States faithfully.
and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
It was time for the new president's widely awaited inaugural address.
Today, I say to you that the challenges we face are real. They are serious and they are many. They will not be met easily or in a short span of time. But know this, America, they will be met. On this day, we come to proclaim an end to the petty grievances and false promises, the recriminations and worn-out dogmas that for far too long have strangled our politics. We remain a young nation, but in the words of Scripture, the time has come to set aside childish things. Starting today, we must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of remaking America. The question we ask today is not whether our government is too big or too small, but whether it works. As for our common defense, we reject as false the choice between our safety and our ideals. Those ideals still light the world, and we will not give them up for expedience' sake. Know that America is a friend of each nation and every man, woman, and child who seeks a future of peace and dignity, and we are ready to lead once more. And for those who seek to advance their aims by inducing terror and slaughtering innocents, we say to you now that our spirit is stronger and cannot be broken. You cannot outlast us, and we will defeat you. To the Muslim world, we seek a new way forward based on mutual interest and mutual respect. To those leaders around the globe who seek to sow conflict or blame their society's ills on the West, know that your people will judge you on what you can build, not what you destroy. What is required of us now is a new era of responsibility, a recognition on the part of every American that we have duties to ourselves, our nation, and the world.
And the new president had this message for his fellow citizens.
Let it be said by our children's children that when we were tested, we refused to let this journey end, that we did not turn back nor did we falter. And with eyes fixed on the horizon and God's grace upon us, we carried forth that great gift of freedom and delivered it safely to future generations. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
Back at the White House, the transfer of power was quietly underway as Obama staffers started to set up shop and began the work of a new administration. The time had come for George Bush and Laura Bush to take their leave, escorted by the new president and First Lady. The helicopter, no longer designated Marine One, took the former president on a final aerial tour of Washington. Then to Andrews Air Force Base, where they departed for Texas and home.
This is my first official act. I'm a lefty. Get used to it.
The first order of business for the new president, a signing ceremony in the president's room of the Capitol building, the very same room used by President Lyndon Johnson to sign the Voting Rights Act into law more than 40 years earlier. The Obamas and the Bidens stayed for a luncheon in their honor in the Capitol's historic Statuary Hall. Among the guests, Senator Edward Kennedy, who's been fighting brain cancer. Shortly after these first pictures were taken, Senator Kennedy collapsed, apparently suffered a seizure, and was taken away by ambulance.
I know that while I was out of the room, concern was expressed about Teddy. My prayers are with him and his family and Vicky.
After lunch, President Obama, now also Commander-in-Chief, reviewed the troops in formation at the east front of the Capitol. The President and First Lady climbed into their new heavily armored Cadillac limousine, making its public debut today. The inaugural parade underway, the motorcade made its way up Pennsylvania Avenue. Throngs, thousands of people were gathered along the parade route to get a glimpse of history as it passed by. Then, to the delight of the crowd, the Obamas stepped out of their limousine and walked down the street, not once but twice. Finally, Barack and Michelle Obama went home to the place where they will live and work and raise their daughters for the next 4 years, the White House. And after a brief stop to freshen up inside the residence, they went back out to sample the inaugural parade, portions of which, of course, were in their honor. At times, it was a biographical review of the life of the president, and the first couple danced to the music of the Punahou School Marching Band. He graduated from there in Hawaii in 1979. That ends just the first half of a long, long day. For most of the people here, it was a trek that ended with the oath-taking here at the Capitol along the Mall. Everyone here in this crowd had a story. NBC's Ron Allen tonight has their story.
It may well be remembered as one of the greatest gatherings in American history. Just under 2 million people crowded the nation's mall, forcing police to close off some entrances hours before Barack Obama's inauguration had started.
Now we can freeze on the other side of the fence.
Temperatures stayed below freezing. Tight security made long lines move slowly. Some ticket holders never got in.
Got all the way to the mall, about 4 blocks away, and got turned away. 13 hours on a bus and got turned away. I feel awful, and I didn't get to see him.
But none of that deterred the crowds. People kept arriving by the thousands, drawn by the rare, powerful opportunity to truly be a part of history.
We just want to be here to feel it. It's just magic. It's magic.
At times, it all felt more like a street fair than a presidential inauguration. The crowds were festive, excited, an atmosphere of celebration.
And I told the children the morning after the election, I woke them up and I said, while you were asleep, Martin Luther King's dream came true, and I wanted them to be here to witness it.
These inner-city high schoolers admit they've struggled with academics. They said Obama's success has lifted their sights.
Seeing Obama be up there and where he's at today, it gives me hope.
I also want to be a politician when I get older. I'm serious, yeah. I want to be the president, yeah.
To me, it means skin color has nothing to do with anything in life.
While young people looked forward, older vets like Stephen Sherman couldn't help but think back to when he served in a segregated army as a second-class citizen. But today he saw a black commander-in-chief.
Excuse me, sir, but I mean, it just touched my heart.
So many people, especially people of color, said they couldn't imagine not being there to witness one of the nation's most enduring racial barriers broken and the American dream renewed. Ron Allen, NBC News, Washington.
Everyone here in Washington today brought with them their own personal story, and for many of us, it's really the first chance now that we've had to breathe all day, and with that in mind, we have the moderator of Meet the Press, David Gregory, here with us. And David, of course, your vantage point was up near the swearing-in itself. As you look back at the day, obviously the inaugural address is the highlight because it sets the tone for 4 years in office. How do you think it'll be remembered starting today?
I think as a substantive address, Brian, this was a real break from the past 8 years, namely when the president talks about petty grievances strangling our politics. He is setting the tone for an end, he hopes, of an ideological rigidity that really bogged down policies. He issued a call to action for Americans, particularly a younger generation, to get involved and to buck up, because this country's been through tough times before, and through common purpose can we meet these new challenges. And he also said to the world, which was a big audience today, that the United States is ready to lead again, and he did that standing about 5 feet away from a seated President Bush. That was a direct shot aimed at him.
Now, in your other day job, you were chief White House correspondent for that President Bush, and couldn't you feel the power shift in this city today, one turning over to the other?
Absolutely, and I thought I was captured by what was Marine One flying back over the National Mall and people waving, some of whom respectful of our former president now, others not so much. This is a real change, a real political change. But you know what? America does this really well. This transfer of power was majestic and elegant, and I think there's a lot for the American people to respect.
David Gregory, moderator of Meet the Press, the broadcast, among others, that will now chronicle these early years of the Obama administration. Great having you today,
Thanks, Brian.
David. Thanks. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll look at the young, new first family of the United States, what this day must have been like for them, also what they're doing tonight. Live picture tonight of the new home of the Obama family. Their address cards read 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. While all this was going on today, Wall Street gave this new president and his team, in effect, a harsh reminder of the problems they have come to office to solve, the problems facing them when they go to work tomorrow morning. Stocks, while all this was going on, plunged today on fresh evidence that the banking system is reeling again. The Dow lost 332 points. NASDAQ off more than 88 points. S&P was down just under 45 points. To sum up that part of our day, CNBC's Carl Quintanilla is with us here in the studio. First of all, how do we know these two are related? Secondly, how bad was today?
Well, historically, stocks don't react well to inauguration days at all, but this was brutal even by those standards. The worst day for stocks on any inauguration day in history. It brings us back to the levels we saw in the fall. When we talked about banking every day, we thought things couldn't get any worse, but we continue to see banks losing money, not just on mortgages, not just on housing, but on credit cards, on consumer loans, big, broad things that happen when Americans lose their jobs in big numbers. The president's going to meet with his economic team tomorrow. We're going to have these confirmation hearings for Tim Geithner, the Treasury Secretary nominee. Their mission will be convincing investors that this problem can be fixed with enough stimulus. Economies that don't respond to that are generally said to be not in recession, but in depression.
Did today tell them anything they didn't know already?
I think there is all the pageantry and all the hope surrounding the address today is something that might bleed into the markets down the road. But you look at some new stocks today, Citi below $3, State Street, a bank that was typically very conservatively managed with a big loss, that's spooking investors even more tonight.
All right. Well, there's time to get to all of that tomorrow. Sadly, the crisis isn't going anywhere. Carl Quintanilla, thank you as always. So that's the business angle of today. Back to the life of this city and what happened here today, the inauguration of the 44th president. And the question everyone was asking watching the coverage, what must it be like to be in this young, new first family? NBC News White House correspondent Savannah Guthrie at the White House tonight with more on what it must be like. Savannah, good evening.
Good evening to you, Brian. Well, on their first day as first family, the Obamas managed to be glamorous and yet simultaneously really seem like a pretty ordinary American family. Michelle Obama stepped out of Blair House this morning and into the spotlight, the eyes of the world upon her, and her first act as First Lady, the choice of a gold dress and matching jacket by American designer Isabel Toledo. Already practicing the courtesies of a First Lady, Mrs. Obama arrived at the White House gift in hand, a leather-bound journal and pen for Laura Bush to begin her memoirs.
And the daughters of the president-elect, Malia Obama and Sasha Obama.
First daughters, Sasha and Malia, made their debut on the inaugural stage. Their grandmother, Marion Robinson, just on their heels as always. When Michelle Obama entered minutes later, clearly in her moment, she held a tiny red box containing the Lincoln Bible, upon which her husband took the oath of office.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
Today, at times, Obama seemed to already carry the weight of office, but interspersed with the historic moments were ordinary ones. The Obama girls fidgeting a bit during a musical performance. Malia Obama snapping photos with her own camera, just in case there weren't enough there to capture it.
We are ready to lead once more.
And as for the speech, two reviews were instant and very positive.
Look over our little angelic Sasha and Malia.
Not since the Kennedys has America had such young children in the White House. 7-year-old Sasha practically danced out of the ceremony today. Later on, taking some of their first steps as first family at the White House, she still had that bounce in her step. But there were some signs the day might be getting just a bit long. Well, a long day is turning into a long night for the Obamas. Do you know they will attend all 10 official inaugural balls tonight? But Brian, the girls have a better idea. They're going to stay home here at the White House and watch some movies. Back to you.
Yeah, that was my favorite factoid of the day. One of the studios has supplied them with copies of Bolt and High School Musical 3, and the two girls are going to have all their friends over. What a first night in the White House. Savannah Guthrie on the White House lawn for us at the end of this long day. Thanks. We're going to take what is a very short break in our special edition of the broadcast tonight. When we come back, some of the history of this day and where they were watching this across the country and around the world on Inauguration Day 2009. While it was unfolding today here in Washington, you could feel the millions around the country who were watching it all. Tonight, our own Lee Cowan was watching them.
The lucky ones, of course, were there, in person, packed shoulder to shoulder. But for the rest of us,
congratulations, Mr. President.
Today's inauguration was a long-distance date with history.
The words can't even describe. I was like, oh my God, this is not happening.
Noon in the East was celebrated at 9 in the West.
The election was like the wedding, but this is like the marriage.
Everywhere, people gathered around high-tech hearths, big screens in New York and small ones in Texas, as it all streamed live on the internet.
I never thought I'd ever see anything like this in my life.
It was living history in classrooms in Atlanta, and a more boisterous history at Michelle Obama's old high school in Chicago.
It's like hope for all of us, you know?
And here,
good morning, Barack Obama Elementary School.
Students in their freshly minted sweatshirts watched their namesake with pride. It was appointment television in a barbershop in South LA, where racial tensions once simmered to a boil.
For all of the right-thinking people, black and white, it's a victory today.
A victory that brought the nation to a standstill. There were cab drivers who stopped driving, shoppers who stopped shopping, diners who stopped dining.
I have never felt so much a part of the world as I felt today.
We even found doctors with a TV in the operating room who paused before surgery on a young Marine. In the end, though, it really didn't matter where you were, as long as you weren't alone. Just ordinary street corners, like this one here in Chicago, fell silent, almost becoming a political cathedral of sorts. And almost everyone was making that mental scrapbook, noting the time and place where they were on this day, and perhaps shared a collective tear.
I will remember this forever and ever, ever until the day I die.
An event meant to be remembered, and one meant to be shared. Lee Cowan, NBC News, Chicago.
And one of the truly fortunate and lucky things about our perch watching all of this is you get to watch it along with historians who then get to decide what it all means. Doris Kearns Goodwin, presidential historian and author among them. And Doris, tell me, what's the history of an inauguration like this?
Well, I think what makes an inaugural an historic memory are three things. One, if the president breaks a barrier. Andrew Jackson, the first aristocrat, non-aristocrat to come in. JFK, the first Catholic to come in. This is huger than even in those, to have the original sin of slavery met by the first African American. Secondly, when there's a crisis, when it's a time of high drama, we remember 1861, we remember 1933, we will remember this because of our economic crisis. And then thirdly, it's when somehow the mystery of leadership is such that the person who's the president has connected emotionally to the people, so they have great expectations of him. They think he's going to change their lives in some ways. That's very rare to happen in the presidency. So if his presidency lives up to those expectations, these people who say we'll remember this the rest of their lives, they may be right. And there'll be historians like me 100 years from now saying, what was it like on that day when Barack Obama became the president?
All I know is it was such a treat having you with us for our coverage today, as it always is.
Thank you so much.
Doris Kearns Goodwin here with us in Washington. And again, depending on where you're watching us tonight, many of you will be back after a short break or after your local news for more of our special Inauguration Day special edition of Nightly News. If your station is leaving us, sadly, we'll have the second half of this broadcast and a lot more of our coverage from the day, all of it available on our website at nightly.msnbc.com. So for some of you, we'll be right back. We hope to see all of you later this evening for our hour-long special in prime time here on NBC.